Hello, and welcome to the TerraLex Insights Podcast, where our goal is to present multicultural perspectives by leading professionals. These perspectives on contemporary issues help lawyers and business people work better together. I'm your host, Terri Pepper, CEO of TerraLex. And today I'm very excited to have a friend of mine, relatively new friend of mine, on the podcast. We're talking to someone who's a good friend and partner of TerraLex as the organization even, Rohan Bilimoria. Rohan is the founder of Law Ninjas, which many of our members are familiar with, and it's a community for lawyers and law students all over the world. And Rohan will describe in a little bit a partnership that now TerraLex has as well, and some work that we're doing with Law Ninjas. But Rohan is a really impressive guy. So he's a lawyer and has worked with many of the leading Magic Circle and other big law firms, as well as many brand name corporations. I'll leave it to him to decide if he wants to share any of those names. But he's also received Business World's Legal Entrepreneur of the Year award, and he's been named a finalist in 2 categories at the Australian Law Awards. He hosts general counsel summits all over the world. I've attended several of them, and TerraLex is a sponsor, and we'll be doing more of them. And they're fantastic events. We'll talk a little bit about that. And they attract, though, thousands of in-house counsels. So great insights into the in-house counsel community. And we're also a partner in providing some resources to something that Rohan, hopefully you'll describe for us, called Law Ninja Club. So besides all that, Rohan also leads global community development at Law Squared, and maybe you'll tell us about that. And as I mentioned, you're also a lawyer. So welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad we finally got you on here.
Thanks so much, Terri, for the opportunity. And hi, all the listeners around the TerraLex community around the world. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. You were quite accomplished. And as people can see, you're not an old gray-haired guy. So you've done a lot in probably a relatively short time. Might be interesting for people to hear more or less your origin story. Would you share a little bit about your background and how you formed all these organizations?
Sure. Thanks, Terri. And yes, I'm not an old gray-haired guy, but I'm an old no-haired guy. So by way of background, and I won't give you the whole life history, but I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer all my life. I grew up in India, and when I was 14, my family and I moved to Sydney, Australia, which is where I'm calling you from today. And then I did my high school, university here in Sydney, and then my first job was with Linklaters in London. So I did a training contract with them, and I moved around with them to Moscow, Tokyo, Singapore. Then I moved over to Mayer Brown, the American firm, to help set up their Asian project finance practice based out of Singapore. And I did that for a few years. And then I realized that, hey, I think I want to be an in-house lawyer. And so I moved in-house to Yum Brands, which is the parent company of KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell. So I ate a lot of fast food for a few years, and then moved back to Sydney during the COVID times because my family is all based here. So, and then I've been in-house at Westpac, Deutsche Bank, and now, as Terri mentioned, I'm at a law firm called Law Squared, where I do community and business development for them. But moving to the Law Ninjas side of things, when I first moved to Yum Brands in 2017, to be perfectly transparent, I struggled for the first few months of my new role, because for those of you who have been in private practice and in-house, you would know that they're 2 very different worlds. Being in-house was, I found, really challenging because, you're not surrounded by lawyers anymore. You're surrounded by marketing, operations, finance people who don't speak your language, who speak a completely different language, and you have to kind of learn that very, very quickly. And so I was struggling. And so I didn't really have any other sort of support function, or I wasn't a member of any other association of lawyers. And so I said, let me set up a WhatsApp group because I like WhatsApp a lot. Mm-hmm. And I called it Law Ninjas because I thought the name sounded cool. And I added 10 of my friends who were in-house lawyers to the group. And the idea was just literally so that I could ask questions about, in-house legal matters and job opportunities, and we could get to know each other. And it just kind of took off from there. I think people started telling their friends about the group and adding their friends, and it grew quite quickly. During sort of COVID, it grew even quicker because I think I saw around the community that, a lot of people were doing webinars through Zoom or through Teams and Google Meet and other platforms. And I said, okay, that's not a bad idea. Let me try and grow the platform that way. And so we started doing a lot of webinars for law schools. As Terri, I think, may have mentioned, we've done free workshops for law schools around the world, about 50 of them, mostly around, how to write a CV or how to write a good cover letter or how to interview well, all the soft skills that they don't really teach you at law school sometimes. And a lot of the law schools that we've done those for have been in developing economies in Asia and Africa. So I think that's our way of kind of giving back to the next generation of lawyers and law students. And so that was really good. And then, we did webinars for in-house lawyers as well on all kinds of legal and non-legal topics. So the community grew. And then after COVID ended, people started saying, hey, we're kind of sick of webinars and Zoom calls now. Can we actually meet each other in person? And so that's when we started doing in-person events. So we've done, I think now 25 general counsel summits and also what we call ninja nights, which are more intimate evening networking plus kind of summit related events. And we've done them all around the world. As Terri mentioned, we just haven't done the Americas yet. As Terri mentioned, these ninja events, the ninja summits, they're a great way for law firms, for legal service providers to be in the same room as the world's leading GCs and in-house counsel. And so far, the plan seems to be working. So thanks, Terri.
So first of all, it's a great service. And having attended some of these events, they're really high quality events. And you do attract the client community, which is very interesting. And law firms, I know there's a few ways they participate, but mostly through sponsorships and being friends of the event and contributing that way. But just someone from a law firm can't just attend if their firm is not a sponsor. Is that right?
Correct. So the model at the moment, and I think this is what we're going to stick with because we've really changed things around over the last few years. We've tried different things. We've pivoted, we've failed, we've succeeded. And so now what we do is that our events are free for in-house lawyers. So no matter what level they're at, so GCs or, mid-level in-house lawyers. And the aim behind that is firstly, a lot of these in-house lawyers and the feedback we've got in the past is that a lot of them don't have the budget sometimes to, pay for things or events. And there are a lot of events out there that actually charge in-house lawyers lots of money to attend an event. So we've sort of scrapped that idea because we want the room to be as full as possible. And we want to give everybody the opportunity, not just the big corporations. We want in-house lawyers at all kinds of companies to attend. But then any legal service provider, so any company like a law firm, legal tech company, legal recruitment, alternative legal service provider has to be a sponsor or what we call an event partner in order to attend or speak or exhibit their products or services at any of our events. So we don't sell tickets to legal service providers. So what that does is a few things, actually. Legal service providers really like that model because then their biggest competitors can't just buy a ticket for a couple of $100s and be in the same room and speak to the same people as them. So there has to be skin in the game from every entity or provider that's participating. And then the GCs and in-house lawyers love it as well, because then there's not like 200 vendors in the room. There's only like 10 or 15 vendors in the room. So, one big sort of pain point for GCs at events like this is that they constantly get sold to usually, right? There's always somebody handing them a business card or saying, come see a demo. But at our events, that group is quite limited, and the GCs are actually quite happy to chat to them because they know that those companies are supporting the ninja community. And ultimately, it is a community because all the speakers that we have at our events, all the GCs who speak at our events are part of the Law Ninjas community. So everybody seems to know each other or knows me or knows my team. And so there is that sort of personal level of connection, which you may not find at other events.
I definitely feel like the camaraderie at your summits exceeds many of the other events I've attended, and I attend a lot of these kinds of things. So yeah, that's definitely evident at them. And there are also lots of elements of fun. I know sometimes you include some social things. I was very happy a couple of years ago when if you'll
Mhm.
recall, I won the Africa Trivia Contest, being one of the few non-Africans in the room. So I was proud of myself. But I know
Yeah.
you've now expanded that and you have an extra day on some of these conferences that include wine tastings and other kinds of social events, which is fantastic because you're right. GCs don't usually have a budget for that kind of thing. And I often, in fact, it happened a couple of times this month alone, will hear from someone who's jumped from being in a law firm into an in-house role. And they all say the same thing. Those first several months are brutal because they just don't know where to
Mhm.
start. And we try to connect them even with our own folks. So if
Yeah.
someone is in an in-house role and they're not a member of Law Ninjas, how can they sign up?
Yeah, no, thank you. And just before we answer that question, everyone who's listening, Terri is a trivia queen. She's very, very good. So beware if you're going up against her. As she said at the African GC Summit a couple of years ago in Cape Town, which is a beautiful city, beautiful country, and a very good event as well. We did a quiz, and yeah, it was about Africa, and she won against all the other, African nationals in the room. So that was really impressive.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a
Um,
blast.
it, in terms of if you're an in-house lawyer and you'd like to join the Ninja community, there's a few ways and there's a few platforms we have. One is what we call lawninjas.co. So that's actually the domain name as well. So if you go to lawninjas.co, you can sign up. And that's not only for in-house lawyers, that's for private practice lawyers and law students. So anyone in the legal profession, other than, like a legal recruitment or legal tech company, can sign up. And it's essentially trying to be a LinkedIn for lawyers. So it's still in its infancy or early stages, and we're still growing that and building that. But that's one way you can kind of join and become a ninja today. Then, yeah, if you're an in-house lawyer, we have WhatsApp groups. So, if you remember, I said in 2017, it started out as a WhatsApp group. We tried different things along the way. We tried Telegram, we tried, like LinkedIn groups, and it all wasn't as good as WhatsApp. So we're still WhatsApp focused and based. And so we have different groups for different geographies. So like, for example, we have one group for India, the GCs in India, and that has about 600 leading GCs in India who interact and message each other in the group on a daily basis. And that's probably the most active community. And Indian lawyers, for anyone who's listening, if you're from India, you would know that, yeah, Indian lawyers love WhatsApp. Yeah. So you can message me and I can add you if you're an in-house lawyer to one of those groups. But then also, as Terri alluded to, we've launched something recently in December, actually, in 2024. We launched Ninja Club, which is essentially a more premium community or a premium membership program for in-house lawyers, where you get access to webinars and early access to events and things like that, which you wouldn't get if you were just part of the free groups. And so that's been really exciting to see that growing. But essentially, if you're an in-house lawyer and you want to join Law Ninjas, just message me, find me, or message Terri, and she can.
Yeah, you can find Rohan through me. And TerraLex is actually proud to be a partner with the Ninja Club and be the provider of law firm referrals for anybody that needs those kind of referrals. And we've sort of private labeled it, so those folks have access with very quick turnaround if they have need for a lawyer anywhere in the world. So we're happy that we're just getting that rolled out and kicked off. So that should be very interesting. So I'm not sure if you can or can talk about it, but what are some of your aspirations for Law Ninjas? What are some of the interesting things you might be thinking about for the future of the organization?
Thanks, Terri. And yes, just quickly on the private label law firm search service, that's something that's really exciting. And I think Terri and I, we discussed it a while ago, and it was just a no-brainer for us at Law Ninjas, where TerraLex, you've got such an amazing, you're a community as well, right? You're a community of law firms and legal service providers around the world. And so now our Ninja Club members can reach out to TerraLex if they need help with legal advice in any of the countries in the world. And that's something that's really powerful and really helpful for our GCs and in-house lawyers. So thank you to the TerraLex team.
To provide that service.
Yeah, and on future aspirations. Now, for any of you who are listening, who is an entrepreneur or trying to be an entrepreneur like me, you would know that it doesn't always work exactly how you want it to work. You make big plans, or you think, oh, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z, and then life happens, COVID happens, the world changes. And so I guess one thing I would say is that if you're, looking to run a business or grow your business, you've got to be agile, you've got to be flexible, and you've got to be very, very determined, which is kind of, I think, what's sort of brought Law Ninjas from a WhatsApp group with one person or 10 people to a global community that it is today. I think I can sum up our aspirations in two words, which is global domination. And that's something I've been saying since I was a teenager. When people would say, "What's your aim in life?" I would always say global domination. I didn't know at that time how I would get there. Like, I thought, oh yeah, I'd become a lawyer, or I'd become an international lawyer, work for the United Nations or work for the World Bank, and take over the world. Then obviously, yeah, I guess I pivoted, and even Law Ninjas has pivoted so many times over the course of the last few years. But I think ultimately, if we were to look at what we're trying to do here, is Law Ninjas at its very foundation, at its very core, is a community, right? So we're a group of people, and we're all human. None of us is AI. We're all human, and we're all trying to sort of, I guess, as at Law Ninjas, what we're trying to do is two things. We're trying to add value to that community. So whether it's through these webinars, whether it's through these partnerships with amazing companies around the world like TerraLex, we're trying to add value. And the second thing we're trying to do is we're trying to bring that community together. So, whether it's through events or whether it's through, these summits that we're doing. And that's really, really, really powerful, because a lot of these in-house lawyers feel alone. And no matter if they come from a small company or if they're a sole GC or whether they're within a big, conglomerate, a lot of them feel alone. And as private practice lawyers at the law firms that you work at, you would know this if you've spoken to them about what it's actually like to be a GC or an in-house lawyer. And so what Law Ninjas we're trying to do is make them feel less alone. They're not alone anymore, because they've got friends, they've got colleagues, they've got peers, and they all have the same problems, and they're all going through the same challenges. And I think that's really, really cool to see, because in the WhatsApp groups on a daily basis, they're all asking each other questions, they're all sharing insights, and it's really, really nice to see. So yeah, I don't know what the future holds. Hopefully we'll keep growing. Hopefully we'll keep doing exciting new things. I get bored very easily, so I will always keep doing new things and changing it up, because life's too short to do something you don't love to do.
It'd be interesting to be a fly on the wall in that WhatsApp group just to see what they're talking about. But I could probably imagine, having worked with the in-house community quite a bit over the many years, and done client feedback, I can imagine what the conversations are probably about. And I think it's a great resource to bring those folks together, so they have each other to bounce things off of, and see what works for one may work for someone else. What didn't work for someone may save someone a lot of time and pain from not going in that direction.
Yeah. So what was interesting was when we first started out, it was, a group for in-house lawyers. And I was based in Singapore. And so initially it was primarily lawyers in Singapore or in Southeast Asia or in India that I knew. And then it grew from there. And so after, I think, a year of running that group, I said, oh, this is working well. This seems to be a good idea. So let's set up a group for private practice lawyers. And so I set up a group for private practice lawyers called Law Firm Ninjas. And I said, I'm going to add, partners at law firms, and it's going to be great. And I think we had about 100, 150 partners at law firms around the world in the group. And what was really interesting, and you may or may not agree with this, but in-house lawyers, they're very happy to share ideas and ask questions, and because they don't see each other as, I guess, competitors, they don't see each other as rivals, they just see each other as peers and as, future friends, I guess. But in the private practice WhatsApp group, the sharing was very limited. Nobody would ask questions because I assume lawyers, all of us, I think we're expected to know all the answers, which we don't, but we kind of wing our way through it sometimes. And so a lot of the private practice lawyers wouldn't ask questions, and then they wouldn't share. And the only thing actually that would be shared in that group sometimes would be, oh, I'm looking for a lawyer in this country in Africa, does anyone have a recommendation? So actually TerraLex would have been really helpful at that point.
Exactly.
But anyway, so it's just interesting to see. But
that doesn't surprise me whatsoever, and it is some of the secret sauce of a network like TerraLex, in which our members, because we have exclusivity, so there's basically one per jurisdiction, they're not generally competitors. There's some exceptions to every rule, but for the most part they're not competitors, and so they do share. But I would imagine any firm over the years I've seen this will not share. They won't disclose any weakness in their knowledge base, and they won't share any information because everything seems proprietary. But the truth is, a lot of them are doing a lot of the same things. There's very slim margins for innovation. Once one firm does it, you do see a lot of then everyone else kind of falls in line on it. But it's always been fascinating to watch, and I've been in the industry for so long. I love to watch when things come out, starting way back with client feedback programs to e-billing to now AI, and just watching how law firms step up to the plate on that. It's been very interesting. So
for sure. And so one thing I would say, which I always forget to say, is that Law Ninjas, if you were to sort of visualize it, we're now sort of divided into sort of three pillars. So one is what I mentioned, which was Ninja Club, which is kind of that sort of membership program for in-house lawyers. Then the second thing is Ninja Events, which is all the summits and Ninja Nights and webinars. And that's obviously open to law firms to participate in if they're a partner. And then the third thing, which we just launched, which actually is quite applicable to law firm lawyers as well, is Ninja Search. So one thing that I found, and the community is quite sort of active in, is jobs and job searches. Everybody's looking for their next job. Even though they're happy in their current role, they're always saying, am I getting paid enough, or am I happy enough? And so a lot of ninjas over the last 8 years have found jobs through the community or through me, if they've met somebody through events. And so I said, look, let's formalize it. Let's make it into something that's actually structured. And I know very little about recruitment. So I said, okay, who do I know in the world who's a good recruiter? And so we partnered with a firm, or a recruitment firm called GRM, which is based out of South Africa, and it's run by Bob Green, who very much like me has a beard, is bald, and very enthusiastic and passionate about what he does. And so we said, let's do it together. So Ninja Search is basically a collaboration between us and GRM. And that's been really great to see. We've, Rob's placed law firm partners and lawyers around the world at every company you can think of and at every firm you can think of. And so Law Ninjas, we're sort of tapping into that. And so early stages, but that's also really exciting.
I know some of our members know Rob pretty well, and he's a great person to work with in that search space. So fantastic. It was a good partnership for you. Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. I know when we've talked about Law Ninjas at our global meetings and others, I've had a lot of people ask questions, and I think this will give people sort of the definitive overview of what it's all about, better than I could explain it to them. So I'm glad that we'll have this podcast in the can to share, and really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And for anyone who's listening, if you'd like to know more, just reach out to Terri or me. Through me, you can reach out through LinkedIn or my email, rohan@lawninjas.co. It'd be great to stay in touch.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.